So here I am driving this log cabin on wheels all around the country in Alaska, hitting these off-road trails, getting into all these adventures. And sometimes I just stop for a second and think about how I've gotten to where I'm at. And I'm just full of appreciation and full of gratitude. But in order to understand where I'm at now, we need to go back to where it all began. My dad's been coming to Alaska for decades, and it's always been a special place to him, and he wanted to share Alaska with me. So when I was a kid, I came up to Alaska my first time, and we flew out in the middle of nowhere in a little bush plane and landed on a lake where there was a cabin that Dad was building, a bush cabin, and I just always loved it out there. I'd spend a portion of my summers out there, and Alaska just always appealed to me, and I knew I wanted to go back there one day. So fast forward to my college years, I wanted to go up to Anchorage, Alaska to go to college. And I didn't have any friends up there, I didn't know anybody, but I just knew that's where I wanted to wind up. So Dad jumped in my vehicle with me and we drove 6,000 miles all the way to Anchorage, Alaska. And he got a one-way ticket back to Georgia, and I stayed in Alaska. That was 21 years ago, and I've been here ever since. One of my lifelong dreams was to build my own cabin here in Alaska with Dad's help. That's a goal that's just always been in my heart and something I wanted to share with him. My first 10 years in Alaska, I basically moved around to a new apartment pretty much every single year. I'd always have roommates, and eventually roommates would want to leave and it wouldn't work out and we'd all have to move. And that happened almost every year for about 10 years. And for those of you guys that watch my videos, you notice I do a lot of sports. I have a lot of things, whitewater kayaks and skis and just all kinds of equipment, snow machines. So I wanted a solid place. I was basically just tired of having to pack up all my belongings every year and throw them in a U-Haul or throw them in my truck. I was just over it. So I had this crazy idea. So basically I made this deal with myself. And the deal was that I was going to find an RV and just get a loan for it, buy the RV, and live in the RV until I could afford to build a house. That was gonna be my goal. And the deal with the RV is I wanted to be mobile. I didn't want to be locked into one place. So I had to be totally off grid. I had to move around to a new spot every night. I was searching around for RVs at the time, and Dad was actually also looking for RVs all around the US, just looking for some kind of 4x4 camper so he can go on his own adventures. He found a 1989 Toyota Odyssey. It's a 4x4 motorhome, super rare. I think they actually made only 6 of those ever. I'm pretty sure Dad was gonna buy the Toyota RV, but I talked him into letting me buy it. Thank you, Dad. That's where it all started. I basically took out the biggest loan I've ever taken out in my entire life, and I bought a one-way ticket to California to go pick up this motorhome in Los Angeles, which is an insane city. And I drove that motorhome all the way back to Alaska, and I just proceeded to live in it for 6 years. I full-timed in the RV for 6 years. I had a full-time job as a driving instructor in Anchorage, and I would just move around to a new place every night and just be there to work full-time during the week. And on the weekends, I would leave the city and go take off on my usual outdoor adventures and just enjoy the camper for what they're actually made for, to go recreate and enjoy yourself. I did a lot of modifications to the Toyota camper over the years. I did an engine swap, a lift, bumpers, I did a new transmission, did some custom racks, did a wood stove. I rebuilt some of the water damage in the overhead bed area, and I just put a lot of time into that camper. And eventually in 2018, I was able to save up enough money and work out enough things to where I could go out and actually buy some land and build my own cabin. And Dad drove up from Georgia in 2018 in his Jeep, and we built a cabin that summer, and it was one of the most tiring and awesome experiences of my life. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It was just incredible. I felt like I had finally accomplished what I'd wanted so bad, and I was just living a dream. It just seemed unreal. As I got settled into the cabin, I'd see my Toyota RV sitting outside, and I'd still use it in the weekends. And I kept it because I still love being on the road. I just got so used to living on the road for 6 years that it just kind of became part of me, and I just really enjoyed it. Over the years, the Toyota RV just began falling apart more, and it was going to need, not a complete rebuild, but it was going to need some serious rebuild before too long. So I decided to cut my losses and sell the motorhome for what I could get for it.
Here she goes. I've never even seen that drive away.
And it went to an awesome home, and they've done a great job rebuilding it, and they're enjoying it now to this day. So what I did with the money that I got from the Toyota motorhome is I went out and bought a 1996 F350. It's a 7.3 Power Stroke diesel. It's an awesome truck. And I proceeded to build a tiny home for the back of it. So after living in the Toyota RV for 6 years, I knew exactly what I wanted inside of the camper. I knew what I wanted the camper to be capable of doing, and I just learned a lot. So I knew what I wanted. So I sat down with a pen and paper, and over the course of about a month and a half to 2 months, I drew up some blueprints for this tiny home I was gonna build on the back of my truck. And I thought of every little thing I wanted in the camper and how I was going to fit it in it. And I even went as far to look up the dimensions of the products that were going to be in the camper. Like for instance, the oven was a certain size, the fridge was a certain size. I'd get online and get those measurements, and I'd base the camper build around that. That way I knew everything would fit in there that I wanted in there. Once I had the blueprints, I went out to Costco and I bought this huge carport tent. It's 10 by 20. And it was freezing. It was December in Alaska and cold, but I just started building the camper. And I spent about 2.5 to 3 months just working my tail off. I worked my normal driving job, and when I got off work, I'd come back home, cook dinner, and then I'd go straight outside and start working on the camper till midnight every night, 5 days a week. And then on the weekends, I just didn't do anything for about 2.5 months on the weekends. So I would just be out there for 14 hours a day building the camper. And eventually, about 3 months in, I finished the camper. And the moment of truth came. I had to put it on the truck, and the camper wound up barely fitting on the truck. I got super lucky. There was like a 1/4 inch of clearance on each side, and it was terrifying putting it in. The camper almost fell off the camper jacks, actually. Once it was in, it looked awesome, and I was just super stoked on it that I created a vision for my head based off function and style, and it just had all the elements of everything I wanted in it, and I was stoked. I was so stoked, in fact, that I made a YouTube video just doing a little camper tour and showing the camper. Now, I've been doing YouTube for a really long time, since 2007, when the YouTube platform basically started. And it's always been like whitewater kayaking videos. And if you guys look way back in the early years on my YouTube channel, you'll see a lot of those old videos. But for whatever reason, the truck camper video absolutely blew up. It went crazy, and the internet took it by storm, and it shot off all around the world. I was getting interviews by different magazines, and there's some TV show stuff, and it just was crazy for a while. So the YouTube tour video I made of the truck camper was enough to pay for the camper and the truck. It was nuts. And when I saw that, I knew I was sitting on an opportunity to really start chasing my dream and just really get out there and do what I want to do and make a living doing it. So I decided to kick my YouTube channel off, and every single week I'd release a new video, and sometimes twice a week. And it's been awesome. I've just been having the time of my life. A couple years ago, I wanted to just really go for it and use all my YouTube earnings that I made to do a 15,000 mile road trip from Alaska and down through Canada and all around the lower 48. And I just had all these, mainly these iconic off-road trails that I always wanted to hit my entire life. I also thought it'd be fun to show what an old truck and a truck camper is capable of on off-road trails, and it was just a fun challenge. For whatever reason, I just really enjoy four-wheeling the camper and just seeing what it can do and getting to go to incredible places and then camp out. I also got to do a good bit of whitewater kayaking all over the lower 48, and also hit some festivals, which is super fun. Got to go to Burning Man and see some old friends, have some awesome times out there, obviously. And also went to Descend on Bend, which is a huge van life festival. Got to meet a lot of other really cool van lifers, make some lifelong friends, and just had an incredible time. About 5 months into the road trip, it was time to head home and start earning some money again and just get back to Alaska. So I drove back up, and eventually all those YouTube videos I made enough money to pay for another road trip. And same thing, I just had some iconic off-road trails I wanted to hit, go hit some festivals, go see some friends, go do some paddling, just the whole 9 yards. And basically the truck house just became this vessel for me to get out there and do what I want and adventure all around the world and make it my job. And there's no cooler feeling than doing exactly what you want to do and also getting paid for it at the same time. It's really neat. I'm just really grateful for the experiences that the truck house is bringing me, and I just never knew it would come to this and allow me this much freedom in my life. And it's just been awesome, and just met some incredible people and had some incredible adventures, and I'm really looking forward to what's to come. And I guess in the end, that's the whole point of this video is You get this one life, and sometimes it just takes a little bit of thinking out of the box and just chasing your dreams, and it'll lead you to a really cool path that will absolutely blow your mind, and you'll be grateful you took your risks that you took. So I'd highly recommend getting out there. If there's anything you want to do in life, just get after it. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I guess we'll see you on the next video.